very special guest joining the Gallant Says podcast, going into what's got to be the most exciting season. Number 3 for you, right, Vanessa? Covering the Houston Rockets.
4.
Kevin Durant's aboard. This is 4?
This is 4.
Holy shit. Okay, so time has really flown by.
I know. It's crazy.
Oh, my goodness.
It's crazy. Yeah, and I obviously lived in Houston for 2.5 years before I took this job. I was at KPRC and then obviously 97.5 with you. So I was here when they had Harden and Westbrook, and I saw all of that happen. I wasn't covering the team up close the way I am now, but I was still here covering the sports scene. So it is a pretty incredible feeling to have watched it go, the way that it went. And then now, one of the best ever being on the roster and the young guys looking the way that they do.
How different are the vibes now? You mentioned Kevin Durant.
Yeah. It's unbelievable. Like, so many of our the young guys, everybody looks up to Kevin, right? Like, that's not revolutionary, but you've got young guys that want to learn from him, and the guys, the coaching staff that has the connections to him, and then a bunch of, we've got a bunch of Longhorn guys on the staff. So the vibes are immaculate. And I felt great heading into last season. I did have a feeling that they were going to shock the league, and that is what they did. This year, there's no shocking anybody. You've got one of the best to ever do it, and the target is on their back, but I think that they're ready for it.
I saw you got a sit down with Kevin Durant.
Mm-hmm.
I think across the league, both from those who watch it and those who cover it, there's so many different thoughts on who he is as a person. I think some of them have been unfair. I actually respect how online he is. I think it's awesome. Sometimes people need to be clapped back at for some of the stuff they say online.
I agree. You and I one of my biggest pet peeves is when people are like, don't give them any attention, like, don't sink to their level. Every now and then people need checked. So I am a fan of Kevin's clapbacks, and they're pretty epic.
Yeah, they're funny. You got to sit down with him for a one-on-one, and I'm sure you've talked with him more than that. What are your first impressions of who he is as a person?
Yeah, I had met him and interviewed him throughout the years at different times, but obviously have never been this up close to him this often. And I had only heard good things, not only from other media members, but from other coaches and whatnot, and players. And so it's been really cool so far. I think the way that he leads is by example, right? Like, he's not going to be the rah-rah, super loud guy, but you don't need to be that. He's been a great leader for the guys so far. They're learning a lot from him. I think him and Ime having the relationship they have is really important, and him respecting Ime. And it just seems like, yes, the vibes are high. And I think that the Rockets are a good fit for him. And I think he's a good fit for the Rockets. And it's not it's not always like that when a guy joins a team. We have seen in different sports, big picture, but even in the NBA, where it doesn't always work out with somebody joining a team the way that people think that it will. But this really feels like a good fit for him.
Also, Royal Ivy, one of his longtime friends. What's
Dexter
their back and forth like?
Dexter Pittman is on the Rockets video room staff, and then you've got Royal Ivy, and then DJ Augustine is in the front office. So yeah, so it's it's really cool. It's really cool and very organic. And I asked Kevin about that in our sit down. Is it important for you to win with guys that you really like and feel connected to? And he said, yeah, at this stage in my career, it is important. And so it's definitely a brotherhood that they have. It is, you see them joking around every now and then, but it's definitely all business. The goal is to win a championship, but it is cool. It's like any of us that go way back decades, or that go back to the people we've known since we were in college, it's like, that's a different level of knowing somebody.
Yeah,
That's
for
a
sure.
that's a different level. And so it's really cool to see all of them interact and for everybody be on the same page.
I'm very curious as to how Durant enjoys this experience. This is a guy that we have at times seen become unhappy in certain situations. It does feel though like the table is set in so many different ways for this to succeed, whether it's some of the guys you just outlined that he's worked with
Yeah.
before, that he's working with now, and also all these young guys who are looking up to him, who I'm sure are going to take his leadership a lot better than maybe someone that's the same age as him, that's been playing at the same time as him. I've got to watch that documentary that involves Durant and involves Harden. And I think Russell
Starting
Westbrook was
five.
in it as well. Starting five, right?
Yes,
Because I
good.
am curious what that was like just compared to what this situation is going to be.
The documentary is just on the subject of the documentary, like that access was unbelievable because you have James Harden talking about his journey and his kid, and we've never heard James talk about his child before. And,
Yes.
you know, um, you're witnessing Tyrese Halliburton, probably the worst moment of his life, right? Like ACL tear in the finals. um, it's just very up close and personal, but I think it was a good perspective of Kevin as well. So yeah, I highly recommend. That one was really good. Court of Gold was really good. The Olympic documentary, like a well done documentary with that kind of access is hard to beat.
I know. It makes you jealous, huh?
Oh my God. Well, it's just a new era of, what athletes and coaches want us to see versus not see. But I do give credit to the guys that keep those cameras rolling in those hard moments, unlike Bill Belichick. Oh, hey, Paul, Patriots fan.
I was
Unlike
wondering when that was going to come.
unlike Bill Belichick, who scrapped the documentary at UNC. But that's neither here nor there.
Do you know what I've been doing with that? And my girlfriend has sent me several TikToks explaining what's going on with Belichick and his girlfriend at North Carolina. And I have just said, I'm just not going to watch it. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. I know I'm just going to be sad.
The leaked video from Pablo Torre
Oh,
of Bill Belichick being like, graphics just aren't Joe's thing. Like, he's just not a graphic guy. Like, the way that Bill was talking to, like, we've never even heard him go that in depth on football as he was on graphics. The wrong woman will ruin your life.
Yeah. I'm just glad the Patriots are good again. That's all I'm happy about. Congratulations to your Colts. Also
Thank
very
you.
good again.
Thank you, Danny Dimes.
What is going on? It's wild. And
I
Jonathan
know.
Taylor, 10 touchdowns in 7 weeks.
I know.
Crazy. Bringing it back to the Rockets. So Durant signs the extension.
Yeah.
He left a lot of money on the table to do it. And my first thought was, well, damn, if that's leaving a lot of money on the table, then I'm just depressed because I'll take all of that money on the table.
I think any of us would. It was funny, like Amin Thompson didn't realize it yesterday that he had left that money on the table. And I think Ben DeBose said something to him about it. And Ben goes, "For real? What a generous guy." So, yeah, it shows that he is, and look, I don't know the details of the contract. Obviously, Shams, my ESPN coworker, tends to be right. um, and Ime said yes, he left some money on the table. So I believe that is true, and it shows that Kevin really cares about winning right now. And you might say, duh, don't all players? Not this late in their career and not after they've won titles and been MVP.
LeBron.
He really, really cares. Yeah, I mean, he really cares about winning. And for him to, with the new CBA, and that's another thing I don't pretend to completely understand, but you've got the second apron and you've got, having a young core, like you have to pay them, and you're going to have to pay them in next summer. So it shows that he really wants to win.
Tari Eason, meanwhile, no extension. And on one hand, surprising because you would think that the Rockets would be trying to make sure that they have a guy like him around, given how valuable he is. But also not that surprising given this offseason where he said he was frustrated that he wasn't listed as a top 100 player. He had a pretty rough series against the Warriors in the playoffs, but I understand the belief that he has in himself, and I'm curious as to how this season's going to go for him coming off the bench. Were you surprised that the two sides weren't able to come to terms?
I just kind of leave that to them. And I think, he this morning at shoot around, I saw somebody uploaded a video. I believe it was Danielle Lerner, maybe that where, Tari said it's a business. He understands the business, but his goal is to win a championship with the Rockets. And I fully believe that. I fully believe Tari wants to be with the Rockets. I fully believe the Rockets want Tari to be here. Um, he's somebody that is a difference maker. And I think I have a special spot in my heart, for him and Jabari, because my first year as the team reporter was their first year. They were rookies. And so I've watched every moment of their career. I've watched every moment of their professional career and up close. Um, and so I would never bet against Tari Eason. And I know how much the Rockets love Tari, and I know how much Tari loves the Rockets. And so I certainly hope that that he's a Rocket for a very long time. I know also that I don't think I understand why fans are impatient, but I think it's tough to judge a player within the first couple years of their career, especially somebody who's had some injuries. So I think that the best of Tari is still to come for sure.
There's so many players that play the game on this team in a style that I really like, just compared to the James Harden era, which not my cup of tea. I know some people really enjoyed
Offense, play small, shoot three, blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
Right. I kind of like a little football in my basketball.
Yeah, I'm the
I
same
like what
way.
Eason does.
I'm the same way. Yeah.
Thompson, too.
Yeah.
The worst news this offseason, Fred VanVleet tearing his ACL. I feel awful for him. Partly, I felt like he shut up a lot of critics of him in the playoffs with that awesome series he had against the Warriors where he was shooting the lights out. I thought people were unfair with VanVleet at times last season. But now you got to ask that difficult question: who's going to play point? We saw the Rockets announce the starting lineup yesterday, where it's Alperen Thompson with a lineup that also features Kevin Durant, Jabari Smith, Alperen Sengun, and on top of that, Steven Adams.
Massive.
Huge lineup.
Massive.
There's a bunch of tall dudes out there. Do you think that that's going to be Thompson's role primarily, the point guard? Or are they going to rotate Reed Sheppard in? I'm really curious as to how they look at that position for this season.
Yeah, me too. When I did a one-on-one with Ime Udoka on media day, he had said that it could change on night to night. I mean, I think that they are going to want to have a solid starting five, obviously, but you're seeing more and more double big in the league. You're seeing it with OKC. You're seeing it with the Clippers. You're seeing versions of it. They've talked about doing it this year in Denver. So I think there could be different nights that warrant different lineups. And I do know that the Rockets really believe in Reed Sheppard. People need to be patient with Reed. He was drafted number 3 overall to a team that had way different aspirations than the average team that has a top pick. And now you've got the leader, Fred VanVleet, and as somebody that's at every practice and every shoot around, however valuable you think his leadership was, times it by 10. Fred's unbelievable. And now he's out. So look, Amen played point guard at Overtime Elite. He and his twin brother Asar both love having the ball in their hands. And I think I saw even JB Bickerstaff said something to the media about, going to try to get the ball in Asar's hands more, because that's just the Twins. That's what they did. That's what they grew up doing. So look, that's the starting lineup for tonight. I don't know for a fact if that will be the starting lineup for the rest of the season, but I do know for a fact that one of the things that the coaching staff likes about this team is the versatility. They really like that. And it's going to get even better when Jay Sean and Dorian Finney-Smith come back with the defensive versatility. So I do know for a fact that the versatility is something that they think is a strength of the roster, and that's not true on every NBA roster. Not every NBA roster do you have a lineup where you could go massive, or as Craig Ackerman likes to say, short kings lineup. So I do know for a fact that they like the versatility, and I think that you're going to see some interesting and some creativity this year.
Well, that's certainly intriguing. And while we're on Reed Sheppard,
Yeah.
you say, hey, be patient with him. And I'm with
Mhm.
you. It's funny. I keep on seeing things pop up on social media. It's pre-draft comparisons, and I went down a rabbit hole last week after his big performance where he had what 29 points,
Yeah.
and artificial intelligence, after I had looked up, wasn't there somebody who said that he was like Steve Nash in an athletic article this offseason, which sounds like wishful, very optimistic expectations for his ceiling. So I click on the artificial intelligence and I ask, oh, make some comparisons between Steve Nash and Reed Sheppard. And it's like 2 pages. And then the next thing it ends with is that would you like to see Chris Paul Reed Sheppard comparisons? And I'm like, okay, this is a lot. Artificial intelligence more unrealistic than the average diehard Rockets fan. We're going to see him play more this year, I would imagine. To what you were saying a little bit ago, maybe there are some nights he starts, maybe there's some nights that he comes off of the bench. But I guess just given what you're seeing in training camp, and not trying to make you speculate too much, are you expecting to see a lot more of him this season than last year?
Well, I think they really believe in him. And by the way, where's the Mark Price? The number one
Yeah.
comparison was Mark Price. That was like, um, Calvin Murphy had said that too. Yeah, I just think I believe in letting people grow at, and again, he is in such a unique situation. Like I want you to look me in the eye and tell me that he wouldn't be playing significant minutes and starting if he was with the Brooklyn Nets. Come on. Like he this just is what it is. A lot of it in the NBA is the situation that you're drafted into. And last season they sent him to the G League for 3 games, I believe, and they sent one of the assistant coaches, Josh Bostic, who had played in the G League, down there with him. And Reed came back refreshed and was like, "I loved it. I needed it. It was good for my mentals." So of course, I think we're going to see a lot of Reed Shepherd. But they've got Aaron Holiday, and Aaron Holiday is a seasoned vet that, when they've needed a veteran guard presence and some quick threes, he's provided that. So I do think that they have a lot of different routes that they can go. Um, but what a great situation for Reed, a coaching staff that really believes in him, a front office that really believes in him, and he's just so mature. Like he's got those intangibles and that work ethic. So I have no worries about Reed Shepherd. Like I really don't. Again, just like the maturity, like I have no worries.
He does a lot of little things. You see his size, and maybe you don't expect him to
Yeah,
do it. And I mean, this sounds
yeah,
like
he's athletic.
right. He is. I mean, look at us. We're sounding like we're talking about white wide receivers here. The little things, the work ethic. He's scrappy, but I mean, he does all those things. He's weirdly really good at blocking shots.
Hmm.
Now, as far as some of the other players, I'm curious. You're with these guys so often,
Hmm.
but there's a long period during the summer where you're off at ESPN and they're doing their own thing in the offseason.
Hmm.
You come back, and I'm sure you noticed some of the changes from seeing these guys on a day-to-day basis. So whether it's just what they look like physically, bigger, stronger, svelter, or maybe from a demeanor perspective, or from what you're seeing at practice, just an overall play style. Has there been one mini transformation over the last couple of months that's really jumped out to you?
Yeah, Alperen looked insanely confident after Eurobasket. He just looked like, I think that experience was so good for him for a lot of reasons, right? Some of it is off the court. His family gets to see him play in every game, and the world. I mean, they made it to the final. Like the world was able to really see him. He looked super super confident. Jabari looked like he put on a lot of muscle, and he works out all summer. He'll go back home to Atlanta. He'll work out with his dad, but he looked like he gained a lot of muscle, and then Reed Shepherd did as well. So yeah, everybody does their own thing, but the Rockets are really good about sending coaches different places. Like they sent, I believe it was Ben Sullivan to work with the men in Florida, and then um, Cam Hodges and a couple other coaching members of the coaching staff went to Turkey for like a month and a half, no, 2 months. It was like a long time to work with Alperin. So they're real like everybody's doing their own thing, but the Rockets are really intentional about making sure that everybody gets what they need. But yeah, those would be my Reed and Jabari looked really, really strong. And I'm like if you look for this tonight with the Thunder, like look at Jabari and just his build. Because he's long, right? And sometimes the guys that are lengthy, they tend to look less strong. He looks strong. And then Alpi just looked super confident.
Okay. Well, that's exciting to hear. And while we're on Sengun, did he share what he was working on most this offseason? Obviously, getting to play at such a high level,
Yeah.
maybe a little more tread off the tires, on the tires. I don't know what the saying is, but you get what I'm trying to say here. Maybe going into the season, a little bit more fatigue, but he had said at the end of last year that he wants to come back stronger and in better shape. I'm assuming that Eurobasket could only help him
Yeah.
achieve his goals there.
I think it did. And it's interesting you bring up like a lot of the guys that play in Eurobasket or play some competitive professional basketball over the summer. A lot of them come into training camp and they don't go at 100%, and it kind of you kind of get it, right? Like you've
Yeah.
just played professional, but he came in and was like, nope, he went full throttle. Like I don't know if it was just his motivation. I don't know if it was also the fact that now he's practicing with Kevin Durant, but he didn't ease into anything. So you know, you saw during the preseason at times the Rockets were kind of running things through Alperen. That plays into what you asked me a couple minutes ago about just that versatility of the roster. So I can't wait to see. I can't wait to see Alpi. I can't wait to see them playing through Alpi. I can't wait to see the way that he and KD complement each other's games. And last year, you saw moments where when it was clicking with the men and Alperen at the same time, it was like, oh my God, like this could be deadly for teams. So yeah, I'm excited. It's the most excited I've been. And Alpi, of course, is a big part of that.
From Alpi to Amen, I think everyone's hoping to see his range increase. Tough to ask from one year to the next for massive improvements on that front, but also just by default, hey, it's one night, and as you mentioned, versatility, things could theoretically change for the Rockets on a night-to-night basis. But now, I mean, he's listed as the starting point guard going into the year.
Yeah.
It's something he's done before. What has he worked on most this offseason?
He worked on his shot, you know, which is something that he has just been really public about. And, you know, working on his overall game. I think he told me last year, like I asked him, you know, do you think you're the best perimeter defender in the league? And he said, I think I'm the best defender in the league, period.
Yeah.
One thing that I think is really interesting is Ime said that even when he's playing point guard, his defensive assignments won't change. Like they plan to have him on the best player every night, and you know that's a heavy workload. But if anybody can handle it, I think it's Amen Thompson. So he's a joy to watch. He is a joy to watch.
He's my
And
favorite. It's
oh
not
my
close.
God, I mean, when he was like people forget his rookie year, he was injured for a part of it, and then he actually had like he was a little bit sick for a while. So his rookie year, it was like people were like, "Oh, this kid's super athletic, yay!" And then last year it was like, "Whoa!" And there was no surprise. You know, last summer, a year ago, he worked out with Team USA before they went to the Olympics, and it was like I remember one of the Team USA assistants, I believe, Jim Boylan, was like, he was keeping up with, I mean, that's three of the greatest ever, LeBron, Steph, and Kevin Durant in that gym. So I think the secret is out on him in. Um, but I love it. You talk about football, like him and Tyler Hero and him and Jose Alvarado. Like I love it. He was influenced by Dylan Brooks. Dylan rubbed off on him. So I love him in. I mean, you're talking about both sides of the ball. But he worked on his overall game, definitely worked on that shot, and I think he's going to have a spectacular year.
Before I ask you about some other players and what they've worked on this offseason, Brooks is gone. I fell in love with the Dylan Brooks experience.
Oh my God, I know.
I really enjoyed it. It was fun. It was so much better than I thought it possibly could be. If you've never had him on your team before, when he's on your team, You understand it, even with the occasional nut shot. You still just
We
love that
love him.
intensity that he plays with. How is the locker room now without him, and obviously without Jalen Green as well?
Yeah, it's you're not going to get one of the greatest players of all time without having to give up a great player and a proven player like Dylan. You know, Jalen still obviously the playoffs, he would be the first to admit he didn't perform the way he wanted to, but Jalen was a big part offensively of the Rockets.
Mhm.
He was, somebody that grew with the team, but you cannot get a level of Kevin Durant without having to give up Jalen Dillon and that 10th pick. It just is what it is. So I'm gonna miss them both. Dylan and I, being the same age, he and I became close. It's different. Like I travel with them, right? So I like meet their moms and meet their dads, and I'm really gonna miss him. He was an underrated part of the Rockets uh becoming the team that they did with that identity. And Fred, rightfully so, got a lot of the, credit for the way that they turned things around, as he should. But Dylan was, and the guys would admit it, like Amen and Tari would admit that Dylan was a big part of their growth. So I am really, really going to miss him. And I obviously just wish him and Jalen the best in, all the best in Phoenix. I think they're going to be really good alongside Devin Booker. I think they made a good hire with that coach. And I was able to talk to Dylan a little bit at Summer League after that trade. So I wish them all the best. And that matchup is going to be the
Yeah,
Phoenix Houston one will be
I
good.
heard. I saw Jalen Green said, "Hey, I'm coming for you guys if we
Yeah,
do
they're going to
play."
come for each other. That's what it should be. It should always be that competition.
To continue to go through some of the guys and
Yeah.
changes over the off season. I did this thing where I was asking the biggest question for the Rockets going into the year, and just one out of curiosity that I don't know the answer to, but I'm guessing that Alperen Sengun versus Amen Thompson. I'm guessing Sengun will improve more just because of what Sengun did this offseason. I mean, if you're going in Eurobasket and playing at that level, you got to be super confident going into next season. So that was one tier of guys that I was having. Who's going to be taking the bigger step forward going into the next year? The other question I had was about Tari Eason versus Jabari Smith Jr. So,
Mhm.
so I'm curious what Tari was working on this offseason. We know he believes he's a top 100 player, and he definitely
Yeah.
feels like he's got a lot to prove after that Warriors series, which was a disappointing one. Plus, with the addition of the shit talking from a Draymond Green after the fact, I'm sure that's going to be
Character
motivational
building.
fuel too.
Yeah, I mean, I did those one-on-one interviews on Media Day that will be airing on Rockets All Access over the next few weeks. And so I never want to say exactly what I let the guys say what they're working on and give the specifics. Um, but I everybody's career is different year by year, right? Like, you know, okay, so Amen had his breakout year last year. I think that could be Jabari this year. I think that we could see a lot of guys take those steps, and it's dependent too on how the team is playing and how they are making those lineups and everything. So if the question is what do I think Tari's going to work on everything. I think Tari's going to be um the tough nosed defender that is going to make your life a living hell when he steps into the game. And the other thing is with Dylan, with the Rockets not having Dylan Brooks anymore, they need that. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing what he do. I really hope that he can stay healthy. He has looked awesome at training camp so far. And I know the Rockets are such big fans of him, rightfully so. So I think that he could take over, maybe not quite the villain role. There's only one Dylan Brooks, but I'm really looking forward to seeing what Tari can do. And from a big picture perspective, you brought up the playoffs with the Warriors, and I'm glad you did. That was such an important thing for those guys to get out of the way. Your first playoff experience. Yes, of course, they wish that they could have advanced, but after the game, Ime said to them in that locker room, remember this feeling, remember this disappointment. And so I think they all learned a lot, and they're coming back ready, not to be the to like we said last year they shocked the league. They're not shocking anybody this year. So, and they know that. They know that.
They showed a lot of resilience in that Warriors series, falling in the 3-1
A
hole,
lot, yeah.
forcing the game 7.
Mhm.
So they definitely have
Mhm.
that to go with going forward. You're mentioning filling that Dylan the villain role. I'm sure when Dorian Finney-Smith is
Ugh.
healthy as well, that he's going to want to step
Yes.
in. One of my favorite moments from Rockets Media Day was basically everything Dorian Finney-Smith said. Specifically, I got a kick out of him saying, like, hey, yeah, I mean, I know Thompson always wants to cover the best guy offensively, but
Mhm.
I want to do it myself.
I know. I know. Yeah. I mean, the Ime has even and Royale, who obviously Royale is just a defensive guru, so smart. Um, they've talked about that. They're like, there's going to be a lot of guys that want to guard the best player on a night to night basis. So, with Dorian, I'm really excited to see what he can do. Every team that Doe has been on, every team that he has been on, people just fall in love with him. And so I have no doubt that he's going to be a great guy for the culture. And he's one of those, he's not in the Jeff Green and Kevin Durant age range, but he's also not in the Tari Jabari Amin age range. He and Josh Okogie, like Jay Sean Tate, like they're those guys that have years in the league under their belt, but are still, also improving on a year to year basis. So I have loved seeing what he can do so far. Love the way that he fits in with the team. And, there's no player that was going to join this organization that isn't great on defense, or at least has strong defense. Like that is just not an option. And you saw it, um, the first year that this coaching staff was here. Like if you were not going to play on the other side, you were going to sit on the bench. Didn't matter what your name was, how much money you were getting paid, high, how highly you were drafted. So I think Dorian is a lovely fit to the culture for sure. I can't wait to see him play.
A lot to be excited about for this year. We are recording this before the tip off against the Oklahoma City Thunder, but with now
Yes.
81 games to go this regular season, for you, Vanessa Richardson, Space City Home Network Rockets sideline reporter, what is the biggest question that you have for this season?
Mm. The biggest question I have for this season, if I'm going big picture, I'm going to say, that's really hard. Can I pick like a couple?
Sure.
Couple
Spitfire, let's
questions?
go.
Um, the development of the young core and how they're impacted by having one of the greatest ever on the team. Because I think all the young guys are very moldable and very malleable and want to learn. I would say in a loaded Western Conference, how the consistency is going to be key. So I think that there are Western Conference storylines that I think are very, very fascinating. Um, and then, you know, how they're going to utilize the versatility and depth of the team to propel them throughout the season. I think there are a lot of really fun storylines. I love the storyline of what is Alperen going to do after that insane Eurobasket summer. I love the storyline of Amin Thompson put the league on notice, and now you're going to see more Jose Alvarados and Tyler Heroes poking at him. There are a lot of storylines that I love, and they're not all about Kevin Durant. There are a lot of great storylines involving the young guys too.
She is my sister from another mister, and I always appreciate hanging out with my old radio co-host. Vanessa, really excited to see what the season has in store for the Rockets, for you, both on
Yeah.
Space City Home Network and on ESPN from time to time. And
Yeah.
I will see you outside of this interview setting in the very near future, I'm sure.
Yes. Always love talking to you. Thanks for having me on.
Love you, dog.
Love you, dog. Bye.